Breaker 23. Today in this video we're going to take a look at the Blafili amp. Okay, on the bench today I have the all-new Blafili amp. Now I've had this amp for almost a month now, and I've been using it quite extensively upstairs in my main system and down here in the radio dungeon, aka my workbench. And yeah, this is a pretty interesting device actually. It's a Bluetooth receiver and 2-channel stereo amplifier only. Like, that's it. So the only thing you can do with this device is stream music from your cell phone, laptop, tablet, or home computer if you have a Bluetooth transmitter. But basically it only receives a Bluetooth signal in, and it gives us 2-channel stereo output to a pair of speakers. It's rated at 50 watts a channel max, so 100 watts a channel total. You can usually about fourth that and get closer to the real power level on most of these Class D devices because they rate them quite high and at a quite high frequency. It has actually, let's talk about sound real quick. It has actually a really good sound to it. So I'm not really, or wasn't really, into Class D devices, especially back in the day. They sounded terrible to me. They were grainy and just not natural at all. Well, they have come a long ways. If you haven't heard a modern one, you'd be absolutely amazed. Anyway, this has a very dynamic sound. So down here on my bench system, I run a pair of old school Klipsch Heresies, which take a really dynamic sounding amplifier to make them sound good, or a tube amplifier. Generally, I'll run vintage gear off of that. I have my old Technics receiver, my Marantzas, stuff like that. Anyway, the Blafili amp gives it that old school sound. It has that dynamic sound range to it. So if it'll make my Heresy sound good, then I feel pretty strong in this device powering most of your desktop or bookshelf speakers without a problem. I've actually even hooked them up to my big floor standing Klipsch Fortes, and it sounds pretty good. So not bad at all. Anyway, again, kind of an interesting device because we only have the one input, and the one input would be via the Bluetooth. So you're going to need like your cell phone or your tablet, like I say, maybe a laptop. But for today's experiment, I am using my good old trusty FIO BTA30 Pro. This is a Bluetooth transmitter that I actually hook up to my home computer, and I use this Bluetooth transmitter to test other receivers and devices, and as well as being able to listen to music on my portable Bluetooth speakers around the house. So anyway, so we got a good start with that, and there's a reason, there's a method for my madness why I bring this device up. Okay, so hold on a minute. On the back panel here, we have our 24 volt input, and by the way, this comes with a 24 volt 110 to DC power converter. It's basically just a switching power supply. So we have our inputs here for our switching input power supply. We have our screw-on / banana plug terminals here. So if you don't have the banana plugs, then you can unscrew the little connector here and then stick your wire in there, just like an old school stereo. However, I don't really recommend that. Most of these modern devices, the little hole in there isn't really big enough. So if you're running any decent speaker wire, like larger than maybe 18 gauge, you could have a problem. So I just suggest using just some of these banana plugs. And honestly, I don't really get into the really expensive ones. I just use some cheapies. And I've actually found these to be pretty good. I've had quite a few pairs of these and gone through a lot, but these seem to be all right. I can put I guess an Amazon link down below. And then over here, we have our input, our little SMA. This is an SMA male connector here. And this is an SMA female antenna. And this is kind of a high gain type antenna. It has a little bit better receiving characteristics than this smaller one here. So that's going to give us good range reception wise. And speaking of that, this is Bluetooth 5.4 technology. So there's a couple things with 5.4 technology, not it just being the newest, but we get a better sound, and that's probably why we have such a dynamic sound here. Anyway, we get better audio quality. This is pretty much CD lossless quality. I mean, we're getting closer to it every year or so. Bluetooth just gets better and better and better. And then the second thing is not only, I mean, you know, we get better sound, but we also get a little bit better range. Now I have about a 2,100 square foot house, and I put most of my test devices at one end of the house. I have actually a couple of places that I like to put it, but I can get whole house coverage with this, as well as I can go out into the yard a little bit. And that's using my my iPhone, which is not really noted for its distance. However, it does really good paired up with this. Yeah, so anyway, great sound, good distance, ease of hookup, and I'll just kind of go over a couple of the features here. We have a multifunction button. This is basically you push and hold for like 2 or 3 seconds, and you have on off. Push and hold it again for a couple seconds, it turns it on. Okay, this is also a volume control. All right, and then if you push and hold it and turn it off, and then push and just keep a hold of it, you can reset it, and it will forget all of the devices it has been previously paired to. Now, another thing I like about this device also is that it's not a grabby device. I don't really like grabby devices. Grabby devices can tend to try to take over everything, meaning every time you try to pair something to something else, if you have a grabby device, it'll interfere with that, and sometimes you'll have to actually go over, physically turn your grabby device off. I'm using that like air quotes. But this does not do that. You actually have to basically look for this and then pair to it, which I really like. I'd like to see more companies go that way, quite honestly. Like having a grabby device is okay if you only have one device on in your whole house. But we have many devices going, whether it's the wife or one of the kids or something like that. And so I would rather have to hunt for it a little bit, and this allows me to do that. Style-wise, it's pretty darn nice. It has good construction. We have our little rubber feet on the bottom. Just really a nice device overall, right? So if you've watched this channel at all, I think probably 4 years ago, maybe 4.5 years ago, I bought my first Bluetooth receiver amplifier, and boy, have they come a long way. Actually, I've donated and sold a couple of the other ones that I've bought, and just because I just don't like the way the old school devices work. So if you had like maybe a Bluetooth amplifier receiver that's maybe 3 or 4 years old and you didn't like it, and you kind of want to or need to replace it, don't be hesitant with these modern ones. They sound a lot better, and they definitely work a lot better. Now, we don't have on this device, we don't have things like EQ set up or anything like that. This is basically, you know, and I hate to use this term, but basically a flat amplifier, so there's no boosted high frequencies, low frequencies, or anything like that. Think about it as your home stereo, like over there with your bass and treble at flat. If there's any equalization going on or anything like that that you need to do, you're going to need to do it with your device, okay? Whether that's through an app or whatever, however you do it on your home PC, maybe you can adjust equalization and stuff like that. But basically just a really down and dirty, just a super basic device is what we have here in the Blafili amp. Why would I want to use this amp? Well, I don't know, you know, it's kind of a specialized piece of gear in that it's not as flexible as some of the other devices that will allow you to like stream from a TV or use optical inputs or, you know, various kind of inputs. This, you can only, again, input with a Bluetooth signal. So Bluetooth audio only on this puppy, and that's it. I get people commenting all the time, hey, I dragged an old pair of speakers out. What should I hook up to it? I don't really have a home stereo. I don't want a bunch of wires and cables. I don't want a big monster thing sitting on my shelf, but I'd really like to use my old speakers or my dad's old speakers or something, all right? Well, this would work. Not a problem. I mean, if you're the kind of person that just wants to come in, you know, walk into a room and pair your phone to a Bluetooth device and just listen to music on something better than just a little Bluetooth, like a little Bluetooth speaker, then this is for you. Maybe get you on Amazon or something, get you some little micro bookshelves and hook up to this or do whatever. Anyway, that's what that's for. Also, like where I could see this being used mostly would be like on your patio or maybe in your garage where you've got a old or a new pair of speakers. It doesn't really matter, does it? Just a pair of speakers, whether they're small, little tiny micro satellite speakers or maybe some larger bookshelf speakers. You want to have some speakers on the patio or in your shop. And again, you just want to walk in, pair up to it, and listen to all of your content and be done with it. No problems, no fuss, no muss, no worries. That's where this comes in. All right. So anyway, a pretty neat device. We'll show you how you hook it up. And that's it. That the it does support all the latest, greatest codecs. So for you Apple guys out there, no fear, no worries. AAC will work on this just fine. SBC, aptX, aptX adaptive, aptX lossless, and LDAC. So you can toggle between any of those. Now, of course, that is going to be up to the device you're using. Now, this is where my little BTA30 comes in handy, especially for testing, but I'll show you how I know that these different codecs work on here. I can actually make this switch codec. How many codecs this transmit is kind of dependent on how many this will receive and vice versa. But all this stuff changes a lot. So let's see what we have here. So I'm going to turn up the volume a little bit. And I'm going to push the button here, and then we'll see our codecs change. Okay, so right now we're in LDAC. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit better. There we go, LDAC, and I'll just push the button off to the side here. So there's our aptX HD. There's our aptX. And back to SBC and LDAC. Okay, so now what a lot of folks don't tell you is the way these sound well, there's a few things involved in that. Okay, so let's just say we could use aptX HD setting, and some tracks will sound good, some tracks will sound not so good, some tracks will sound absolutely amazing, and that's just kind of depending on where you got your program source or how your program source was converted. Like I take CDs and download them into my computer, and some of the music sounds just absolutely awesome, and some doesn't. And with the new Bluetooth 5.0 and above technology, a bad program source will really show up. So just because you're in digital and your Bluetooth and you've got the latest greatest codec going doesn't mean it's all going to sound the same. These new devices will show up flaws in the music or the way they were engineered or converted or whatever quite a bit. So anyway, there you go. All right, so pretty cool unit. I won't really go over any more of the particulars. You can go over that on Blafili's website. I'll leave a link to that down below. I believe I'm going to have a promo code on here, so try promo code BB23, BB23, and that could save you 10% off of your purchase or so. Anyway, there you go. That is the Blafili amp. Just a great sounding little device. And, you know, it's kind of a niche device, but I think it takes care of that niche just absolutely awesomely. So anyway, please leave questions or comments down below. And thanks for watching.